Good morning. Good morning from Melbourne. Good evening to friends in the U.S. I am Nancy Hetker. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and I am going to show you the brand new Christmastime is Here suite. That is a special offering in the month of, starting November 1st, and as long as it holds out, the Stampin' Up! Will sell it, they said. So it doesn't have an end date for the promotion. So let me get rid of this and bring in products from the suite. This designer series paper, I bought it because I like it. I tend not to do a lot of the one-off special things that they put out. But this one really spoke to me, and I think I've said it before, but in part it's because Christmas time is a summer holiday where I live now, and the roses are in season. But I'm trying to show you the colors in this suite are Mossy Meadow, Early Espresso, Cherry Cobbler, and Poppy Parade. And I don't usually think of those two colors going together, but they do. Oh, and Whisper White and Gold Foil. So hopefully you can see as I turn this in the light, the gold elements to it. One side has gold foil, the other side is a matte pattern. I like that. It still feels really Christmassy, the way Northern Hemisphere people think Christmas should feel. But like I said, it's got the roses, so it's nice. And here's gold foil, and that's very summery feeling, even though it's itty bitty holly leaves and berries in the swirls. And then this one, which has lots of gold and pine and holly berries on the back side. So that's the designer series paper. Here are the stamp sets, and this is interesting because it's a 2-box set, but one of the interesting things is this outline stamp is in red rubber, and all of the sentiments and the fill elements are in photopolymer, so it's easy to see and place them, and they are made with a distinctive technique, which means that they give a very watercolor look to them. And they come with coordinating dies, and this one cuts out this image as well as it's sized the same way on the designer series paper, so it cuts out both of them, and I'll show you this in just a minute. It's got 2 label dies, these neat frill or flourish, I guess you'd call them, dies, and then a couple of these grills that work nicely as some background and accent elements. And then there's also shimmery gold ribbon and these gold glitter enamel dots. And we've had these in various colors over the last couple of years. And the gold ones, they've done a really nice job of making the golds, there can be different tones of gold, and they've done a nice job. All the golds are the same tone. So that's a nice thing. I was going to show you a couple of cards that I have made with this so far. This is one of the rose clusters in this paper, and this is the other one, and it doesn't have a coordinating die, but I put it on my brother's Scan and Cut. It's an e-cutter, and it got most of it. It didn't get quite all of it, so the little bit that was left I fussy cut myself, but it didn't take very long. And then I've just layered it up on some gold foil sheets, and I put a piece of the cherry cobbler designer series paper, and this is the sentiment from one of the sentiments from the set, and I just layered that all up on a thick Whisper White base. So that's actually pretty simple, especially if my electronic cutter had cut the whole thing, but that's fine. Similar, that's using this that got cut out with the die cut, and I just put it on a piece of a banner of the Mossy Meadow on that same paper. I need to get better at zigzagging my ribbon, but there we go. And then I added some of the glitter elements there. So there's that one. And then this one uses the sheet with the smaller roses. Try to see what you can see here. And I put a piece of vellum across the center there, just so that this kind of stood out a little bit more. And I cut out these two flourishes, but I worked hard to keep the pieces in there, so they're actually solid. There's one of the labels and the second label, and then that's just a piece of gold foil that I flagged, and again some of the gold glitter elements on there. So that's some of what I've made so far, and then I did some stamping with the stamps. This is the first one I did, and I used it's on my Stamparatus, and what happens with these distinctive stamps sometimes is those foam, our newer style of foam ink pads sometimes are just too juicy for them. They just fill up all of those nice little etched out details. And that's what I felt had happened with this one. So I haven't mounted this one on a card yet. So I did a second one where I tried to do less ink, and that one was better. This is the card I made out of that, and you can see there is less ink, but still not quite as great as I would like it. But I went ahead and made it into a card. This card, well, a version of this card, we'll be making in my Christmas Stamp-A-Stack on November 2. If you're in the Melbourne area and would like to come, there's details of that on my website. Oh, and that's the other thing. On this one, I'd started with stamping the outline stamp in the Glimmer Gold, the Delicata Glimmer Gold, and then I stamped the color on top, and I decided that was the wrong way around. So once I had everything positioned on my Stamparatus, it doesn't matter what order you stamp in. So this one, I don't know if the light is good enough that you can see it. This one I actually stamped all the colors, and then I stamped the gold on top. And that was better, but still quite a bit of ink. So I pulled out my Stampin' Spots, and I had, from all my years of Paper Pumpkin and such, I had 3 out of the 4 colors, and then I have uninked spots, and I made one for Poppy Parade. And the first one I did, it pretty quickly showed I didn't have quite enough ink on these 3 spots, so I re-inked them, but you can see there's a lot more texture and detail. In part, that's the linen covering on the pad, and also the edges of the pad are kind of making some almost hash marks on there. So set that one aside, and then I re-inked, and I think this is the best one yet in terms of shading and detail. So I'm going to stamp 1 or 2 of them again for you today, because What I have done with my ink pads now is I've gone ahead, I think you can see it best on this one. Yeah. So what I did was I took a plastic spoon. Some people use their bone folder. And I pushed a lot of the ink down to this end. I don't know. Whoops. I want to make sure I don't have a technical issue here. Oh no. Did it end for you guys? I'm seeing something weird here. Oh, here we go. We're good. Hopefully you guys are all with me here still. Anyhow, let me see if I can get a better light on this. Don't go anywhere. So that you can see. So it's darker down at the end where I pushed the ink to, and there's less ink here. So I'm going to give that a try and see if that makes for a happy images. Yeah, so I'm just going to pull in my Big Shot for a moment and show you how nicely that lines up. And again, these newer style dies, now that Stampin' Up! Is working directly with the manufacturer, they line up really tight on the image, which I think is nice and makes it easier to get good alignment, really and truly. And I'll just run that through. Sorry for the shaking. Hi, Nikki. Get rid of that. And there, you can see it cut it right out, easy peasy, really nice and neat. And that's ready to use on something. Whoops, sorry, back this way. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is bring in my Stamparatus, and we're going to try playing with building the image again using the stamp pads that I've hopefully gotten the ink pushed away on enough that it makes a big difference. And it's nice having the extra plates because I have all of these lined up according to which color they use, and I do not have to move any of them. They can just stay there until I'm finished doing whatever production of things that I want. So the key for using the Stamparatus always is to make sure that everything is pushed up into this corner, and then everything will align the way it's supposed to each time. Again, I have pushed the ink to one end on each of these so that hopefully I will get enough and not too much ink on these. And I'm just tapping a couple times and we'll see how we go here. Yep, I think that's better than I had been. I'm just gonna wipe up a little bit as I go too, so I don't get ink everywhere. And then this one is the Mossy Meadow. This has got all of the leaves and pine needles. And what I did was I stamped the outline first, the first time I did this, to then lay the clear stamps down in position, and I was able to test it and reposition if needed. Let's see what we got here. Yep, and I can see that right there didn't get so much ink, so I'll probably add a little more. See if I can get it just right there. So that would be right in there. Yeah, so now that's a lot of ink, but that's okay. Get rid of that plate. And these are the Poppy Parade berries. There we go. This is the Christmastime is Here suite. The one thing that's in the suite that you haven't seen from me is they have a gold toned bracelet that has a rose charm and a Stampin' Up logo charm, and I wear a watch and I wear my medical alert bracelet, and I don't wear other bracelets, so I didn't buy that. Oh, and then the one, they sent one pine cone, and so we're going to do that one manually, if you will, but they just have their own spots. They go right there. And right there, and right there. So that's all of the colors. And I didn't grab, there we go, the Golden Glitz ink for, and then this is the red rubber outline stamp. So what I was saying before, that all of the color fill images are on photopolymer, but the red rubber gives nice, crisp, really good detail images. So they used red rubber for the outline stamp. And I will say I agree with other people who say that the Delicatas work better if you add a little more ink than at least mine came with. Okay, we'll make sure that's up in that upper right corner. Oh, I know why that's being difficult. That's the one thing you have to remember to do, is take out your foam mat when you're using the red rubber stamps. Okay. Hi, Kay. Nice to see you this morning. So, there we go. Let's see what you can see. Am I getting this where you guys can see it? Not over there, but over here maybe. Anyhow, it is very pretty, and the gold The shimmery gold on top there is just gorgeous. And it looks like I've got my alignment pretty good. So I will move this one out of the way. Move my ink pads out of the way. Oh, I know what else I have to do on there. Bring back my foam. And this is the sentiment, and I have that mounted up also because this card, like I said, it's going to be part of my Stamp-A-Stack, and so I'm seeing this as a as we're setting up for production, so that, you know, they're doing 5 cards of 5 different designs, but for the 5 of these that they're making, they're just going to go through and do each plate 5 times and then switch plates and come back and do the next color. So that's all set up to do the sentiment, and I think that needs a little more ink on this side in particular. That's the nice thing about the Stamparatus, is that you can go ahead and stamp again because it's right in the same place each time. So that's all ready to go for our card. Clean this off. And bring the Big Shot back in. And just like on the printed one, it just nestles right in there. Sorry, I had another little hiccup here. Hope it's all good for you guys. And there is that all cut out and ready to go on our card. So, shall we make this card? It's really pretty easy once you have everything cut, of course. This is my favorite quick cheat again. Glue. Really. And then dimensionals. glue again. Come here. So you can do, this one's a Poppy Parade card base. This is my second one on Poppy Parade. Here's one on Cherry Cobbler, which maybe I like better. I don't know. And I've decided I do really like these glimmer dots on here, so I'll add them. There we go. So I don't know if you can see, this is the one that I did with the ink pads, the foam ink pads that I pushed the ink down to one end to get less ink on. And this is the one I did with the old felt, well, they're not old, but the felt ink spots. And I think for my class, I'm going to use the felt ink spots because I think they're easier to get to not over ink. So I think that answered my question. Yeah, I'm going to stick a few of these dots on here. Do you have any questions, comments? Where'd it go? It didn't come. Thanks, Kay. These over here. There. I like that. Personally, so, that's what I had planned for this morning. I was showing you this suite and one of my card designs. I will put a link in the comments and on my blog entry about these cards to my Pinterest board where I have started collecting other ideas. The Stampin' Up! Artisan Design team did a really nice blog hop that showed lots and lots of examples. One of the things a lot of them did was there's in the holiday catalog there are gold foil pizza boxes, which are about 3 1/4 inches square, and they put some of these elements on them and the paper, and they're just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I really am enjoying this suite of products. Like I said, I think it's very rich looking and yet still and feels Christmassy, but especially here where we're getting up to 85. Yeah, I think about 85 for the first time this season. it also feels appropriately seasonal for us. So yeah, enjoy your week. Oh, that's what I wanted to let you know. Two things. Number one, today, the 23rd, is the 24-hour flash sale on selected stamp sets. 15% off. The list is on my blog and on my Facebook page. There are links so that you can see the whole list. I am encouraging you, if you don't already own Beautiful Friendship, which you've seen me do on this Facebook Live platform, I think that is a must-have stamp set and very versatile, and I love it, so I would snap it up if you don't have it. Also, all the background stamps from the annual catalog are on sale this week, and I just placed an order to get the one that I don't have, because I love the background stamps. I especially like that crackle paint one, so if you don't have that one, yeah. And then the other thing is just a heads up, next week on Wednesday morning, I am going to be in Sydney, so I am not going to do a Facebook Live, and I will post that on my Facebook page as well. But a friend of mine who now lives in the U.S. but lived here in Sydney forever and ever, and her family's here. She's here visiting, and I'm going up for a couple days to hang out with her. So no Facebook Live next Wednesday morning, and I will see you back here in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.